Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. I haven't been this excited to make a video in a long time. There's a lot of things we're going to bounce around and discuss today here with John Tran.
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
So, before we get started, we're going to have the link to this in the description. But on the night of the national championship, John actually sent me over an editorial that he wrote. And we're actually going to put that on fanaticperspective.com. Fanaticperspective.com, by the way, I was blogging. I used to write, some stuff and whatnot. So we're going to try to revamp that. And when we have some written things and just more long-winded thoughts we want to share, we'll actually post that on the website. So we're actually going to lead that off in terms of our revamp with John's editorial. And John, just, give us a little sneak peek at what your thoughts were.
So like you were saying, I was watching the national championship game with my 3-year-old son, and he looks at me and goes, "Daddy, where's Hookem?" Because he doesn't know it's Texas, but he knows the colors and he knows the logo, the brand.
Sure.
And I look at him and laughed, and I go, "We didn't deserve to be here, so we're not playing here." But it got me thinking throughout the game, like watching it, was watching Clemson's defense against Alabama's offense and how they were controlling both the line of scrimmage and also the secondary. I was thinking, could Texas play with both of these teams? And without giving too much away, it's a short read, but it's just something that I just was inspired watching those two teams, because
awesome.
I think that it's something that we could work to.
So we'll get to discussing kind of big picture coming off of our 10-4 season, Sugar Bowl champs over the Georgia Bulldogs. But I just really appreciate you being more abstract with your thoughts and saying, hey, what can our future look like depending on how things fall? So starting with the future, a lot of news, guys, all through today, really,
yep.
Right? So
we
just found out Brandon Jones will be returning to the 40 acres for his senior year. We can almost pencil him in probably as a team captain for his senior year, his leadership.
Absolutely, yeah. If your defensive coordinator says that's the type of man I want my daughter to marry,
sure,
he's probably going to be a team captain.
So earlier this week, I know we originally wanted to make this video on Tuesday, but just work stuff has been crazy. And we've had two decisions with our two big dog wide receivers, Colin Johnson and Lil Jordan Humphrey. Colin Johnson will be returning for his senior year, and Lil Jordan Humphrey has decided to move on to the NFL. We're going to start with Lil Jordan Humphrey's decision to go to the next level, go to the NFL. Just what are your thoughts on him deciding to leave early?
I honestly think he did the right thing. If he got that 3rd round grade, I would like to definitely see someone get a 1 to 2 round, the guaranteed money. But I mean, honestly, it's not his grade's not going to jump up unless he just has a 2,000-yard receiving
something
season.
Crazy,
yeah.
Right?
And he's just risking, especially how physical of a runner he is. He's just risking getting hurt. So I mean,
that's where I'm at. The style of football that he plays. I mean, look at his last play as a Texas Longhorn against Georgia. Where he trucks the dude, and it takes the signature. It takes 8 people to tackle him. I tell people this all the time. You only have but so much football in your body. Bottom line. And yes, there are certain positions, there's more wear and tear than others, obviously. But at his position, we just saw a completely different thing. But Allen Hurns on the Dallas Cowboys, what happened to his ankle, right? Like, his football career is in serious jeopardy, and he's not even 30, right? So you only have but so much football in your career. And I do think Little Jordan Humphrey, in his particular case, made the right call, because him and Colin was very productive as well. Because one would say, well, does that mean that Colin made the wrong decision to come back if you guys are saying that Little Jordan should go? And I think it's a case by case basis, right? Little Jordan, physical football player, but his production was there all season long. He was a more consistent player than Colin Johnson this year. Colin Johnson had some injury concerns at the end of the season and had monster games, and he was a little bit more of a werewolf. Whereas we could count on LJ. Now, it was also a function of the positions that they play and coverages and whatnot. But I just think that it's a great move for Lil Jordan Humphrey. I agree with you. We wish him the best of luck. Would have obviously loved to have him back for next year, but we'll go into guys that could fill in that spot. Colin Johnson coming back. Quick thoughts.
I'm going back again to the injury thing. Like you said, you only have so many games to play, and people don't know that the reason why he was teetering on a 3 to 4 star rating when he was in high school was he missed his whole season, senior season, with a knee injury and ACL tear, and it didn't look like his knee was holding up too well towards the end of the season. I mean, that brace didn't look too good on it for me. So, but it's huge for us as Texas Longhorns, because that gives us that guy that every team's going to double team him, and all the others will tear up the field, hopefully.
So he's back now. So I'm not going to go into, I'm happy to have him back. Now let's go into where he can make that jump to get to where he wants as a draftable NFL player. He has to be more consistent. And it's not even a function of his hands or anything, because he has great hands. He has great athletic ability. But just being a presence more, if they can move him around more. They even in the Georgia game, you saw him line up in the slot a few times. But game to game, if he can give us what Little Jordan gave us game to game, maybe not. Yeah, and there's some weeks where he's going to have 180 yards, and yes, he's going to get doubled sometimes. But what I also like in his favor is the quarterbacks coming back with him, right? We have Sam Ehlinger. We'll get to him and his Heisman chances and all that stuff in a second. But with Sam Ehlinger back there, as well as Devin Duvernay coming back on the other side, anytime you're able to return your starting quarterback that finished with 40-plus total touchdowns, a wide receiver who was, a first down and a couple yards away from a 1,000-yard year, and then a Devin Duvernay who's a deep threat on the other side who really complements you, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yep.
So I really like the position that we're in from a Texas standpoint with getting him back. I did think it would hurt us if we lost both of them.
Oh, absolutely.
So to split there and to get Brandon Jones back, it's a win for Texas, right? And so let's jump into just some of the recruiting stuff, because I didn't get your thoughts. You were in Disney World at the time during early signing period. And, what's the big question that everyone's going to ask is, how do we replace Little Jordan Humphrey in the slot? This slot position in Tom Herman's offense is been so, the production heavy, right? And going back to the Rice days. So how do we look to replace that? Are there any guys in your mind that you look right now and you're like, they can fill in? And the reason why I kind of hinted at the early signing period, because I know you were excited about a couple guys.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be by committee. Honestly, I think we're just going to see who roll with the hot hand. That's the type of coach that Tom Herman is. Who's ever producing, he's going to play. Joshua Moore's coming back off of injury. He made some pretty nice catches at the beginning of last season. And there's the other Jordan Whittington, who just looks like a stud, an absolute stud. So
I've been watching the workout videos with him, his pops on Twitter and stuff. I'm ready for that young man.
It's exciting. And I think those two guys are very capable. Wide receiver, I think, is probably one of the easiest positions to transition from being a stud in high school to being a role player in college.
Yeah, look at the Clemson.
I'm not saying they're gonna be studs right away.
Sure,
they still need to learn the intricacies of the role, but I think that's the easiest transition. And I think those two players, especially one who's already had a college season under him.
Sure. So Joshua Moore, we'll start there, because I think starting spring ball, I think he's going to be your starting slot receiver. He was already getting reps before the shoulder injury that had him out for the season. He was already getting reps there. He has a completely different body type from Lil Jordan Humphrey, but one thing about him, he has insane leaping ability. We saw that in the USC game. We saw that. That was one of the big things that people harped on when we recruited him from Yoakum and we signed him, right? So I also harken back to the 2017 season, when we were also asking these same questions when Tom Herman came in and installed his offense. Do you remember who our initial slot receiver was in that offense? It was Reggie Hemphill Maps. And Reggie Hemphill Maps was putting up numbers. He actually finished with 37 catches, tied with little Jordan Humphrey that season for most on the team. His body type is very similar to Joshua Moore. But both 6'1", they were both like 170 pounds. But they were both like real shifty and could high point the football. So they liked that type of player because Reggie Hemphill, they started him as a freshman.
Yep.
And he came out the gate rolling, and then, obviously they had their mishaps with him, and Lil Jordan eventually took over, but he wasn't initially our starting slot receiver. So I look at Joshua Moore there. Honestly, I'm comfortable because I thought Sam Ehlinger felt very confident throwing him the football when he was around.
Yep.
Jordan Whittington and Jake Smith are the two guys who are like the next level slot guys that you see in the NFL that fit the prototype. The only thing is, how quick can they get up to speed? And I think they'll both be here early enrollees. So it's one of those things where, like you said, open competition, grasping the position. Me personally, with my guy Jordan Whittington, yes, my guy Jordan Whittington,
he's calling it now.
He might be
little
somebody.
Little Jordan.
Little Jordan. He might be a dude we cross-train at running back, too. Because if you look at the running back room, we lose Trey Watson.
Depth is not there.
And not everybody's too hot on Daniel Young right now. We do obviously have Keontae Ingram, who will assume being the full-time running back. But honestly, like, if you look at Jordan Whittington's skill set of what he did at Cuero, who's to say that he's already not walking in day one, the second best running back on the team? That's his skill set. So that could be a guy you cross-train there. Maybe Jake Smith gets a little bit more action because he seems to be more of a natural, just polished route runner, wide receiver, and somebody I think could connect and sync with Sam really quickly. It's also going to be incumbent on Sam. He's a veteran quarterback now. He's going to be able to work with these guys. He's the leader. He's going to be able to develop those guys and get them up. I remember when Colt was he had like a young Malcolm Williams and all these other wide receivers and guys were graduating when he lost like a Quan Cosby, and he just got other guys up to speed. You know what I mean? You see it in the NFL. So I'm not too worried about the slot position, especially since we have both of our outside guys and Colin Johnson and Devin Duvernay coming back. Other replacements, because I feel like we focus a lot on Little Jordan coming back Little Jordan leaving and Colin coming back. But, we had some seniors leave. We're losing a Anthony Wheeler. We're losing a Chris Nelson. Most of the guys on the offensive line, Calvin Anderson, Patrick Vahe, guys who have been mainstays here for a while. Are there any positions that you're concerned about, with either we haven't fulfilled that with what you've seen in recruiting, or anything you're excited about in terms of a surprise guy that might crack the 2 deep coming out of the spring?
So to answer both questions, concern, Ominahu, replacing him it's going to be difficult. I mean, we did, I think, I know a lot of people were, when you did your recap video, were complaining about, hey, we need to have line depth. I saw a couple comments.
Yeah, we had a lot of comments about that.
I thought we did great on the line. I think we got 4 recruits on defensive line, and then we have 3 right now on the books on offensive line. Hopefully, we're going to
get Shepard.
Yeah, Shepard, which will give us 4. And I mean, I what more can you ask for?
Especially with last year's haul.
Yeah, exactly. And but it's really hard to replace the talent that is Ominahu, because there's plays in there that only he didn't look like that he affected the play, but he absolutely was the person who affected the play. It's hard to replace NFL talent, and I honestly think he's going to be a top 2 round draft pick this year after he tests and everyone sees his.
He's going to test well, especially when people start the measurements. He's a strong kid. I think also personality wise, teams are focusing more on that too, like how the guys gel, are they coachable and stuff. Charles Omenihu is a guy who came in a real skinny kid when he got here, and look how his body finished. Yep, that's a testament to him. Hard work in the offseason. NFL coaches are gonna like that. He was doing an internship at 1049 Longhorns. Like he gets it, right? Yeah. So that's gonna be a tough guy to replace, honestly, on and off the field. What about a position that underrated that you're excited about in terms of somebody that might crack a 2 deep?
linebacker, Gabriel Floyd. I know you mentioned him, but I watched him during the All-Star game, and they were dropping him into coverage as an inside linebacker, and he was flipping his hips, and I didn't realize in high school he was their running back too. So to see him being able to know both sides of the ball is only going to help him when he's transitioning to college football, because he can just be an athlete out there and just understand his defensive scheme. And he's a true inside linebacker, that can move sideline to sideline. And we really haven't had a true thumper who can move sideline to sideline.
Sure.
In a while, actually.
No, we've had some good ones. Gary Johnson, Malik Jefferson, and whatnot. But some of the guys we have coming in, a couple with the Caleb Johnson. Really excited about some of these young guys. And then even Overshawn and Delhi, who we didn't really get to see, those two guys this year that were big safety and linebacker, because we play the rover thing. So some guys are going to drop down and whatnot.
We're deep, actually. If you
really think about it,
we're pretty deep on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive line too.
And that's a testament to recruiting well. And we're going to talk a lot about recruiting throughout the off season. And you recruit numbers. All these kids are not going to pan out. But if you recruit enough, you're going to get a stud, at some point, and then hopefully you can fill in and have ample depth when injuries occur.
And you don't necessarily need a stud; you just need someone who can hold their position. I mean, think of the league that we're in. We're in a fast-paced league where offenses run almost 100 plays a game. So you need fresh legs in there. So if we have that depth where the drop off isn't too far when we sub. I mean, that's what you're looking for in this league.
Absolutely. So one position that I'm excited about is tight end. And that's going to sound weird because Andrew Beck was first team all conference for H-back, fullback, whatever you want to say. But I did think there were some limitations there from a pass catching standpoint. And so we talked about replacing the slot position earlier. Well, one of the functions is in a Tom Herman offense, what we saw really at Ohio State is the tight end can really be a valuable part of the offense from pass, but they haven't had that yet. I think a guy like Cade Brewer, who's just is a better athlete than Andrew Beck and a natural pass catcher. We saw some of that his freshman year. Unfortunately, he was really recovering from his ACL injury, and he wasn't the same guy last year. It's going to take him a full year to get back from that. I expect him and Reese Latow, who we really didn't get to see a whole lot of outside of special teams, Brayton Liebrook from Arizona, who, that guy is he looks the part, right? He looks the part. So tight end is one of those things where we might get a little bit of an uptick in the pass game. Again, that's incumbent on Sam Ehlinger, getting guys up to speed. So you guys let us know in the comments, any sleeper positions that right now it's like, whether it's defensive tackle, Chris Nelson leaving, but you're excited about Gerald Wilbon and Keandre Coburn. Like, you just let us know because we want to facilitate that conversation. Sam Ehlinger, Heisman odds, your boy. Right now, I think they have him at 7th. Obviously with Trevor Lawrence's performance and Tua finishing 2nd, I think they would be my top 2. And then I'll round them out with Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin because he went 2K this year. What are your thoughts just on, Sam Ehlinger this offseason and what he needs to do, and then going into next season on how he can capitalize on the hype? Because there's a lot of hype right now with his name.
He needs to stay healthy. I mean, if he stays healthy, I think we have a very good shot at winning a lot of games and getting back to the position that we were in and playing for a Big 12 championship. And then if we win a Big 12 championship, I think he'll be there in New York with Lawrence and Tua.
Some of those guys, yeah. And there may be, somebody might get hurt or anything. Yeah. But right now, just as we see it.
But I'm looking comparative to Tua and Lawrence. Sam's the one who's way more physical than those two, so he has a bigger shot at getting hurt than them. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, his numbers are on par with both of theirs. Yes, Tua didn't throw in the fourth quarter, but if you take out almost two games that Sam didn't play in, I mean, it comes
his numbers will be there. He needs the wins. I think he'll need to win the Big 12.
I agree. And I said if he's healthy and we're playing for a Big 12 championship and we win the Big 12 championship, I think it'll be in New York.
How do you feel? So I want to get into another news announcement. Tom Herman deciding to keep the entire coaching staff in place for the 2019 season. And me personally, I'm excited about it because I like the consistency.
Is key, yeah.
And a lot of Clemson fans, when I made the Clemson video the other day, a lot of them commented and said one of the secrets to our success as a program is our coordinators have been left in place. We've only lost 2 coaches over the last 4 years. And that really stuck out to me. So seeing the consistency that we, with Tom Herman's staff that we didn't see at all in Charlie Strong's tenure, just your thoughts on the coaching staff, because I want to chime in with one interesting tidbit as well.
My thoughts is I agree with you. I think we did really well meshing as a team. And yeah, so year 1 of Tom Herman, it was defense. Our offense was struggling. Year 2, offense was playing pretty well at the beginning of the year. Defense was not panning out at first, and then they ramped up and they started playing like a team. And if you keep those pieces together, the ideologies of both staffs together, it only helps these kids because. If you have to just completely start over from
you can ramp quicker with kids too. It gets guys. You saw how young Clemson was on the field that other night, but you can do that when you have the same message. Mm-hmm. When I talk to a senior and the same message he's been getting since his freshman year. So even if I haven't played a few years and I get in there, it's the consistency of the message. Again, recruiting comes back up in these coaching discussions because we had some comments from some of you guys on the channel. And I want to give a shout out to his brother, William Curlin, who sent me an email, reached out to me on the Facebook page. Make sure y'all hit up the links if you want to get in touch and really get into deep dives on Texas discussions with us. We do respond. But William emailed me about DFW recruiting. And I actually noticed a couple comments I think I did in the DFW or in the Clemson video or Texas recruiting video where people have concerns about our lack of impact in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Williams' concerns were he feels like we're hitting Houston heavy and Houston players are getting more love and getting offers quicker than DFW players. And he even went so far as to say, he says, it feels like Dallas-Fort Worth area is a foreign country to Texas right now. Just your thoughts on that. Just want to get William a little bit more feedback.
Yeah. It to his credit, it kind of is a foreign country because to tell you the truth, you got to think of the place that Tom Herman was coaching before. Texas. It was Houston. You got to recruit with what you know. And what you saw against Clemson and Alabama, there's athletes everywhere. And if you find the correct athlete that fits what you're trying to do, I mean, you have to make sure you get them. Now, if it's that number one prospect that's the best, kind of like Malik Jefferson was. We had to get Malik Jefferson. It was imperative that we had to get him. If it's something like that, you go all in for it. You go all in for that person, and you send your whole coaching staff up to Dallas just to sit down with his whole family and tell him, hey.
We got people saying we should have made room for David Beatty on the staff to maybe to start to build some of the pipeline there.
So would you add in an extra position, or would you actually let someone go?
I mean, you can't because Drew Maringer won that award for recruiting. Yeah, right. So it's he's involved in play calling.
Tim Beck has done wonders with
the quarterbacks,
just their mechanics. And if you think about, I know he hasn't been the greatest play caller, but if you think about it, what we were texting back and forth, the New Year's bowl games.
Yeah, the New Year's 6. Yeah, you were the one that told me that. He had three starters that he coached: Dwayne Haskins, Joe Burrow, and Sam Ellinger. So when we look at trying to address that, I know a lot of people's go-to solution is David Beatty, and not to say that he wouldn't be brought in at a later date. Who knows?
He may come in as a consultant.
We don't. And the other thing, we don't know what David Beatty wants to do.
Yeah,
He may want to chill for a little bit and wait for something else to open up. I don't know. But to Williams' point, OU is hitting up DFW. Obviously, Kyler Murray, even though those guys are transfers, but with, some of the recent commitments and signings they've had, they've hit that area hard. TCU is right there. We're obviously recruiting against Baylor. Ohio State. You're talking about out-of-state ties.
Yeah. So you got to look at those schools that you named too. How the connections that they have. Baylor has a ex-coach from high school from Cedar Hill there. Kenny Hill is a coach on TCU staff.
Yeah, grad assistant now. Yeah.
And Ohio State has three players there that are in their ears. These kids have known each other's for years, so they know each other. They call them personally, and it's not outside of the recruiting rules. So kids want to play with people that they know as well too. So that might be a huge reason.
I think my response to this right now is twofold. I think you continue to try to build those ties because you coach at Houston doesn't give you the out that you can't build ties in DFW, right? But we have to eventually, we want to see them pull kids from Allen and Aledo and some of these big time schools. We've done it before. Mm-hmm. The other point to that though is for every monster that you miss in DFW, you need to sign in either your region or Central Texas that you're good at, and that starts with Zachary Evans in 2020. He, in my opinion, and I emailed this to William, is a must sign. Okay? He's the number 2 recruit right now, currently ranked, depending on recruiting service, in the whole country. Yes, he's a running back, but he's one of those guys that comes along once every 5 or 10 years. I think they got him up there with Adrian Peterson right now. He carried North Shore. Great. I'm not going to say carry, but they were a great team. Mm-hmm. They won a state championship with him, right? So that's a guy, in my opinion, especially a position where right now where we're good at running back, that's a guy that everybody freaks out when you get him. Mm-hmm. So they need to go out there and sign a Zachary Evans, especially when OU got McAllen to commit to them, right? So you got to counter it. That's kind of how I look at it. What else do we want to hit on here? Because I'm just really excited for the offseason for this team. I'm excited to see what Yancey McKnight's able to do with some of the young guys we have coming in, as well as some other guys who are now going to be able to step up.
What are the renovations for the stadium supposed to happen?
I don't know. That's a good question. Somebody please chime in with renovation information or hit up Chris Del Conte on Twitter. Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah, because I was hoping maybe if they get it done by next season, I was just interested to see how they're going to do that.
But yeah, man, coming off a 10-4 season, there's a lot of momentum. Mm-hmm. This team, some people have us as high as I've seen, Joel Klatt, who has 3, but the consensus is between as high as 3 and we're almost consensus top 10 for the next season,
which is between 8 and 3.
So they need to deliver, right? With the players they have coming back, with the quarterback they have coming back, with a full coaching staff intact. There will be very high expectations for next season. Also, Oklahoma losing a Kyler Murray, they're going to have their battle with Kendall and Spencer Rattler, barring them getting another transfer or whatever, right? So with these teams having to kind of reload, I'm not going to say rebuild because we've seen this in the Big 12 time and time again. These teams that we're competing against, they reload. Mm-hmm. We have to get to the point now where we talk about little Jordan Humphrey at that position. That needs to be a reload. It can't be where we're trying to figure out what we're doing week to week, right? So
I think they're doing a good job with that.
And I hope that they continue to do that, because one thing we haven't seen from the one thing that we need to see going into next season we didn't see is we can't be up and down with playing to competition. We have to kind of levels. We're fantastic in big games, guys. And that Georgia game, that's why we were so confident.
Play like that every single game, though. I don't want to see us walk into Louisiana Tech and it be a 10-point game. I miss those years where it was 44 to. It might have been close the first.
Louisiana Tech's a good program.
Yeah, no.
They've been going to bowls and stuff. Yeah, but
I get that, but they're not. I don't want to see them overlook Louisiana Tech to Louisiana State. I want them to come out with the same focus that they come out with Louisiana State.
So that's something I think through your workouts and everything you do in competing, they just got to get better at that. They know they have kids. They don't have kids that get afraid under the lights.
And now they have a vocal leader too.
Sure.
Sam is hands down.
And I think that's also incumbent upon the guys that are going to be our seniors and our captains. We complained about that, right? With our senior class.
They stepped up
last year. They did step up towards the end. And you give that 2015 group credit because they came in with the coach that they loved, tough times, went through it all, and they came out with the first double-digit win season in Texas history since 2009 and a New Year's Six bowl win. So they finished almost on top. Now we got to keep that going, right? Mm-hmm. Their whole thing was, let's get the program back on track. When you finish the season as a top 10 team and you're going into the following season as a top 10 team, I will constitute that as the program's back on track. Now, the message has got to be finished. We came up real short in the Big 12 championship game. We got to finish. We got to get back. We got to finish. We have to put ourselves in these discussions like you're having with your son of being worthy of going to the playoffs, of being in those conversations late in the season where our name is on the board with the committee, right? Mm-hmm. So y'all let me know your expectations. I've had a fantastic time just talking football with y'all all season long. It's been a hell of a ride. I think we started when you and I started at the beginning, we may have had, I don't know, 700 subscribers or whatnot. And for us to be at almost 3,000 at the end of the season is remarkable. And we've had a blast with you guys. Please.
All the people we met too. It's awesome.
Absolutely. So y'all remember, check out John's editorial. We'll have the link in the description box below. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms. As we continue to grow the channel, we'll have more and more updates and just continue to respond to news in the off season. John and I are going to continue to make. Yeah, we're going to continue.
We're going to be at the spring game.
Spring game, all that. Absolutely, absolutely. We appreciate you guys. Horns always up.